A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. Jesus said to his apostles, "Whoever loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. And whoever loves son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. And whoever does not take up his cross and follow after me is not worthy of me. Whoever finds his life will lose it, and whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. Whoever receives you receives me, and whoever receives me receives the one who sent me. Whoever receives a prophet because he is a prophet will receive a prophet's reward. And whoever receives a righteous man because he is a righteous man will receive a righteous man's reward. And whoever gives only a cup of cold water to one of these little ones to drink, because the little one is a disciple, amen, I say to you, he will surely not lose his reward." The Gospel of the Lord. Whoever loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. Whoever loves son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. Whoever does not take up his cross and follow me is not worthy of me. What's going on? Is Jesus playing hard to get? Is he giving us these ultimatums that nobody can live up to? No. I hope you hear in these words Jesus proclaiming to you the truth of who he is. And really what he's saying is honest, and it's merciful for him to say this, that if father or mother comes before I do in your life, you're not worthy of me. Your kids are great most of the time, right? No, your kids are great. But if they come first, you're not worthy of me. If you choose not to take up your cross and follow, you're not worthy of me. And when Jesus is saying you're not worthy of me, that doesn't mean you're not good enough. It doesn't mean that you're not lovable or anything like that in his eyes. It means you're incapable of following. So I think Jesus is inviting us to let that question sit in our hearts. What is it that comes before him in our lives? Because whatever it is that comes before Jesus, if there's anything that comes before him in our lives, it's not him that we follow. In August of 2011, I was privileged to be present for the World Youth Day in Madrid, Spain. It was a while ago, but not too long ago. And at the closing Mass of this World Youth Day, Pope Benedict was the Pope at that time, and he was the preacher and the celebrant of this Mass. And I was at this Mass with about 4 million of my closest friends from all over the world. And I was at the very back, so all of them were in between myself and the Holy Father. But the Pope still said something that really struck me and deeply resounded in my heart. And that piece of wisdom I have used to make a lot of foundational decisions in my life. Now, on that day, Pope Benedict looked out at 4 million young people gathered before him from all over the world. And he looked at them and he said, "My dear young friends, the world offers you comfort, but you were not made for comfort. You were made for greatness. The world offers you comfort, but you were not made for comfort. You were made for greatness." And I think how true those words are, even more so now, 9 years later. We are living in the most comfortable age in the story of human history. We want comforts. Man, this is the time to be alive. We can have life our way. We can have as much comfort as we want with whoever we want, however we want, whenever we want. And we're free. We can make a choice to pursue that with our lives. We can have as much comfort as we want. But that's not what we're made for. I invite you into a meditation now and over the course of this week as we let this gospel passage that we hear this Sunday resonate in our hearts. And I invite you, if you were brave enough, to have a real conversation with Jesus about, Lord, where are the places in my life that I would rather be comfortable than great? Why do I choose, Jesus, what is cheap and easy? Why do I want the easy way, rather than the way that I know is the path to true greatness? Comfort and greatness don't lead us to the same place. And if we really want to be great, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to choose the cheap, easy, and comfortable route through life. But these are really the two options that we're presented with in our age today. Do we want to be comfortable, or do we want to be great? And Jesus in the gospel today said something that deeply resonated in my heart as I was praying with it. These are his words. Whoever finds his life, and whoever clings to his life, will lose it. And whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. Brothers and sisters, we're living in an age that tells us if we make that decision to follow Jesus and to put him first in our life, that that's the path to death. Right? We want to be happy. We want to actually live a fun life. We want to be free. And obviously, if we choose to follow Jesus, none of that's possible, right? That's what the world would tell us. That if we want to be great, Jesus has to be out of the picture. That if we want to be great, we should essentially make ourselves God and choose for ourselves what is true and what's not true, what's right and what's wrong, what we were made for, right? Our culture tells us today that we can choose who we are and what we're made for. That the way things are, all of reality, it's governed by me. And so our culture presents to us the cheap and the easy path through life, the way of comfort. And if we want it, it is there. We can have it. But Pope Benedict reminds us that that's not what we're made for. We're made for something so much more than comfort, than the cheap and the easy life. We're made for greatness. And Jesus invites his friends to put him first. To put him first before all other things in life. That's not easy. And we are free to choose whether or not to do that. How much to do it, how often to do it, how much to care about doing it. We don't have to do it. But Jesus reminds us in the gospel today that when we choose to allow other things to come first in our life, we're choosing not to follow him. We're actually rendering ourselves incapable of following him. And so we're living in the midst of two rival cultures. And we have to make a decision because they don't lead to the same place. One leads to comfort, one leads to greatness. If we were going to listen to the Pope before Pope Benedict XVI, St. John Paul II, he actually labeled these cultures. The culture of life and the culture of death. And I think he's right on when he highlights the principal mission statements of these two rival cultures in which we are living. The way of life and the way of death. John Paul II rightly notes that, sure, it looks like if we're going to choose life and we're going to choose happiness, we kind of have to do life our way. We should worship ourselves. That looks like life initially. But that actually is a lie. And John Paul II points us to the book of Genesis, the first lie ever told at the foundation of the world. What was it? The serpent turned to Eve and he said, you don't have to listen to God. You can make your own decisions, you can call your own shots, and you can be happy. You can be just like God. And we know that that serpent is the enemy, right? Satan, the father of lies, the prince of darkness. And what was it that he wanted for Eve? And not just for Eve, but all of humanity. He wanted our complete and utter destruction. He wants death for each of us. But he knows that we're too smart to choose death for ourselves when we know that it's death. And so what does he offer death in disguise? He makes it look like life. And so the enemy comes to us and he says, choose happiness, choose cheap and easy comfort, choose the way of self-worship. You decide for yourself what your life is going to look like. And that looks like life initially, but it's actually death in disguise. Because any honest person can recognize that when we choose to live a life of self-worship, that actually destroys relationships. That eats away at family life. It destroys minds and hearts. And so Jesus in the gospel today proposes the way to true life. He tells us that the way to true life is found in the decision to give ourselves away. So he says that we are not made for self-worship, but rather for self-gift. And Jesus himself is the epitome of self-gift. The greatest gift that we have ever received in human history is him. And he's about to come present to us in our midst on the altar in a few moments. And he will be made present to us in this time through the sacrifice of the Mass when Father utters the words of consecration. And what do those words of consecration literally symbolize? What do they speak? Self-gift. The words that make Jesus present on the altar. This is my body, which is given for you. Those words make Jesus. Those words make life present to us. And it's awesome that Father gets to speak those words and bring Jesus into our midst when he says that. But he's not the only one that gets to say those words, right? Every married couple gets to speak those words to each other with their lives and their bodies. This is my body, which is given for you. And when those words are spoken so powerfully by a married couple, we name them 9 months later because they become persons. Because when we make the decision to love like Jesus, that is always the path to life. And so John Paul II says this culture of greatness, this culture of life, her mission statement in our world are those very words of Jesus. This is my body, which is given for you. And he juxtaposes that with the mission statement of the culture of death present in our time. We know that Satan won't give us what is obviously death in front of us. He knows nobody's going to buy that. Nobody will choose that. And so what does he do? He gives us what we recognize to initially look like the way to life. This is my body. And then he changes it. He doesn't say, this is my body given for you. He tells us, this is my body, and it's all about me. This is my body. I do with it what I want. This is my body. You stay away, and let me govern myself. Brothers and sisters, that's not the way to life. That's the way to death. And so we hear Jesus in the gospel again telling us, whoever is willing to lose his life for my sake, whoever is willing to make a gift of himself in love to me first and then to others, that person will find life. And so we gather here at the altar begging Jesus to give us the grace and the vision to help us see where he doesn't come first. That we can have that vision so that we can make that choice to put him first in our lives. That he can truly reign as King and Lord of our hearts and make of us the people of life.